All right, everybody. Welcome back. It's COGconnected. It's our Game of the Year Awards, episode 2. The last episode, we covered a lot of really good stuff, but we've got 4 brand new topics to cover. And I don't want to waste any time. I just want to get right into it. Let's get right into it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Do we need to do introductions?
Yeah,
again?
for those that for some
why
strange
would you
reason
watch 2
skipped
first?
part 1.
Right.
Yeah, that's weird.
It's YouTube.
Hey, you could find part 1 right here.
Yeah, exactly. Where are we going to put the up in this corner, this corner? All right, well, that's fair. Okay, cool. Maybe someone decided to watch episode 2 first. So
They might not be interested in the first 4 categories per se.
Cool. All right. I'm not going to argue. If you are just tuning in, watch episode 1. And if you don't want to, I'm Shawn, executive editor for COGconnected.
Oh, I'm saying my own name. What's up,
You're allowed to
guys?
say your own name.
What's up, guys? I'm Rory, and I would probably give myself some ridiculous self-entitled sort
I'm
of
Rory,
thing here.
and I know my own name.
But yeah, I'm just Rory. I do reviews, and you'll hear me a lot in the edits.
You're
of
an
videos.
invaluable member of the team.
I'm that guy that a lot of you say, who says something like that and ends videos with, until next time, game on. I do talk like that.
Catchphrase.
I'm Paul. I believe my official title is editor and real OG.
That's right. It says so. It says so on the site.
Paul puts the OG.
He does look like a gangster.
Yeah.
And I'm Trevor, executive editor.
Can we go back to Paul for a second about being Paul and a gangster? If Paul is a gangster, like you've seen Office Space, like Michael Bolton in Traffic when he rolls up the window.
Oh, yeah, that's me. That is so me.
Damn, it feels good to be a gangster. And you know what? Actually, that's a pretty good segue musically into our first category today. Which is the Melodious, which is best music. And there were a ton of games that had a lot of really good music this year. So I'm going to just jump right into the nominees. Doom soundtrack by Mick Gordon. The Last Guardian. Hyper Light Drifter. The soundtrack for No Man's Sky. The Witness. I Am Setsuna. Great game. Final Fantasy 15. Amplitude, which is a music game. Watch Dogs 2. Let It Die. And Inside. So why don't we throw it over to Rory?
Oh, catch me off guard. I'm never prepared to spit an opinion out. The Melodious, lots of good choices, as you say. I will preface this saying that Doom was my initial front runner, and then I thought maybe Final Fantasy was going to give it some competition, but after listening to the 2, I thought Final Fantasy 15 just actually wasn't that great of a soundtrack, and Doom was up there. But then I got to 65 Days of Static's No Man's Sky soundtrack, and to be quite honest with you, it kind of blew me away. I listened to the whole thing. I love synth and atmospheric stuff and what they did with that game. It's weird because oftentimes if you didn't notice it in the game, it's either doing the right thing by complementing things and heightening the experience, or it's just not there.
Did you know that they released that separately too?
Yep.
Like apart from the game, not like as a bonus to the game or anything like that.
Yeah,
but they released it separately, and you can listen to that soundtrack completely separate from the game.
And
it's still really, really good.
And you should, to be honest with you, because I think it really showcases how much depth and just subtlety there is, and how great that soundtrack really is. Because I enjoyed the sound design to No Man's Sky a lot while playing it, but I didn't think to myself while playing it, like, wow, the music is like really standing out to me. And then when I listened to the soundtrack like uninterrupted and just heard what they did with the soundscapes and such, it's really quite accomplished, and I think it really stands out to the other stuff. And Doom is pitch perfect and phenomenal as a package as it is. I thought to myself personally, if I'm going to stay home and listen to an hour or 2 hours of music, which could I listen to more often? And No Man's Sky took the top. So Doom was just so like, I was just like, I gotta be angry all the time.
I'm so angry right now.
Yeah, and I do enjoy that stuff, but No Man's Sky I thought ultimately just tipped it over the scale for me, and that's my pick for best music, No Man's Sky.
Good choice. Paul?
I waffled back and forth on this an awful lot. I enjoyed the soundtrack of Final Fantasy 15, but as you said, it's not great in a lot of spots. There's a few themes that are quite good, but there's a lot of places where the music just doesn't really add anything to the gameplay. So that's not it. And Doom, I like Doom. It suits the game, but I don't think musically it's that interesting. My pick for best music of the year is actually Hyper Light Drifter.
Good pick.
And if you haven't played Hyper Light Drifter, it's a pixel art game. It's kind of like
Zelda.
It's like Zelda. It's like Zelda with better combat.
Gotcha.
A little more challenging combat, I would say.
Yeah.
But the music in that game is super atmospheric and synthy, and it brings forth emotion. Like, the game doesn't have any text or anything to tell you the story, so you're relying a lot on the imagery and a lot on the music, and Hyper Light Drifter's music does a great job of that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, sound for me in a game, there's a lot of times where you'll play through a game and the sound is an afterthought, not so much in the game, but to you. Like, we were joking around earlier about Call of Duty, and you go, Call of Duty has a soundtrack? Because it's not where your focus is at any given time, right? So when you're playing through a game and the sound impacts the emotion you feel while playing, you know that it's doing its job. It's less of an afterthought and more in your face. I completely see why you guys, like you said, musically, the Doom soundtrack, it suits the game, but it doesn't necessarily, it's not great musically, or anything else. Or like you said, you're probably not going to turn it on and listen to it for an hour. It's, maybe when you're cleaning the house, if you want to get the vacuuming done faster, you just turn it up to 11.
Exactly. There's one great emotion that you hear when you're listening to Doom, as opposed to some of the other candidates where it's...
Yeah, no, exactly. And I agree with you. My actual choice, surprisingly, was The Last Guardian. And again, it was because of, and I did feel this while playing Doom, but I just thought that the music for The Last Guardian really suited what I felt, or what I was supposed to feel while playing through the game. It's subtle and it's light, but when you hit those big set piece moments and the music speeds up, your heart rate is in time with how that music is flowing. And for me, there wasn't a spot in the game where the music was unsuiting to the situation I was in. And again, it didn't always take front and center or anything like that, but it always worked for every single little part of that game. So that took my award. Yeah,
music really amplifies stuff, right? That's why my girlfriend often bugs me that, she asks, because I'll be watching a movie and I'll tear up a little bit, and I'll be like, the music though, it's really like, it's the music that's really making me cry, because it's making me feel stuff. And she says, well, you didn't even cry when our baby was born. I was like, well, maybe if there was this great soundtrack playing in the background.
You didn't say that, did you?
Of course I said that. Maybe it was so great. I watered, but I didn't like tear.
I watched enough movies. Where's the trumpets?
Right? Anyways. Music is great.
I hope for your son's sake that he never watches this.
Oh,
you didn't cry when I was born?
I watered up, son. I watered. If I had blinked, maybe a tear would have dropped.
He'll know you by then. He'll know that watering is as good as crying.
He'll be like, Dad, I need to talk to you about episode 2, back when we did the Game of the Year Awards in 2016.
I knew that was going to come back and bite me. That's
right. Trev, what's your choice?
I'm picking the game that all you guys talked about, which I know
none of us picked.
Which I know was deep in your hearts. All of your hearts it's deep in there. Is the Angry Doom music. I love the Angry Doom music. It set the right atmosphere. It just made the game, the experience, that much better. I don't need to ramble on. I love Doom. I love the soundtrack. I would play the game. It's one of the rare games I would play again just to listen to those thrashing, raging tunes. So,
when it kicks it into high gear, though, man, I mean, you do get pretty...
Oh no,
you get riled up. Like, it works.
That's the thing. I think I can't fault Doom's soundtrack technically. I think it blends in with the action and like you said with Last Guardian stuff, really, the music helps you feel what you should be feeling in those moments, and it gets your aggression going and adrenaline pumping. It also made me want to punch holes in the wall.
You only did that once.
And I'm just renting, and I really like my damage deposit back, so...
And you guys can't see on camera, but these hands haven't seen a lot of work. These are soft, dainty hands.
All right, so moving forward, our next award of the episode is the Storyteller. So, best story and or writing. And I'm just going to jump into the nominees, and we'll let Paul take it away on this one. So, nominees for The Storyteller: Owlboy, Unravel, The Last Guardian, Uncharted 4, Oxenfree, Firewatch, Watch Dogs 2, Final Fantasy 15, I Am Setsuna, Tyranny, 1979 Revolution Black Friday, Shin Megami Tensei 4 Apocalypse,
Well done.
I know, right?
I
know.
That's a tricky one.
I know.
That's the only reason it's in there.
I've been practicing. Zero Escape, Zero Time Dilemma, and Batman, a Telltale series. Huge list. Paul.
That is a big list. And
only one is right.
There's only one correct answer here. This isn't my pick, but I wanted to point out Oxenfree because I think it does a lot of really cool things.
You said there was only one right answer.
I know.
This is not the right answer.
That's the second one.
This is the second right
This is
answer.
this is the most correct wrong answer. Okay, and it does some really cool stuff with the dialogue and the way the trees work for responding to questions and stuff. It's some really neat storytelling in that game. But that's not the right answer. The right answer is Firewatch. And don't get me wrong, Firewatch had some problems. I hated the ending of the game. I thought it didn't do a very good job of tying up what had happened in a nice little package, but it did make me think. And I played that way back. It was like April or May when that came out, but I have not stopped thinking about the game.
Really?
The story and the characters and the journey they went on together. Henry and Delilah were totally captivating, and that's partly the performances and the writing that was put on, but also the atmosphere of everything that was going on. And I thought the story itself was super memorable, and I can't recommend it enough.
And I think Campo Santo, the developers, I think they would be really happy to see that level of recognition. And I mean, for me, I find that I'm pretty sure I would have already mentioned this, but you know, these types of awards almost always they tend to focus on AAA, with giving a lot of indie games nothing but a passing glance, unless they're that rare indie game that everybody seems to know. But Firewatch isn't one of those games. It's not one of those games that everybody knows. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But for my actual pick, I agree with you. I actually went with Firewatch as well.
Really?
I really enjoyed it. What stood out for me was the setup. Right? The setup from the very, very beginning, you get to see why he's going on the journey that he's going on. You know, why he needs to take himself out of his environment and go to this place in the middle of nowhere to take himself away from the things that had happened to him, how he needs to rebuild his life and bring himself back together. And, you know, a lot of people will shit on it for being, you know, what I kind of hate the term, but, you know, it's a walking simulator, right? Well, there's a lot of games that seem to be taking that route.
Uncharted 4 being one of them.
Whoa! Shots fired! No, but
obviously,
how dare you?
But I mean, to me, the walking simulator, in a sense, is like a resurgence or just like a branch off of a good adventure game, and proof that shooting things or you know grinding levels aren't the be all and end all for games. Sometimes, just quite simply, a fantastic narrative is all you need to get through a game. And Firewatch had it in spades. And I kind of agree with you as well. Like when I kind of got to the end, it wasn't what I necessarily wanted to see in the ending, but the journey it took me to get there, start to finish, really, really good. Yeah,
the structure of the story did a really good job of making you put yourself in Henry's shoes, not so much playing the game as a third-party observer, but playing the game as Henry, because it gives such a nice background of why he was doing the things he was doing.
Exactly.
Well, Firewatch is going to be 3 for 3
Holy
because
shit.
it's my pick as well. And I mean,
I have a feeling we're going to have a lot of people watching this. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. There's going to be a lot of people watching. Like, you guys are all fucking wrong because we're not picking Uncharted. We're not
There's
picking...
no AAA game. It's an indie game. So, for me, more along the same lines. I mean, I found Henry very relatable. Here's this 40-some-odd-year-old guy. He's got a bit of a drinking problem. I mean, not to say that I
drinking problem.
I mean, I don't have a drinking problem. But I'll hide the beer. But you know, he's relatable. His wife diagnosed with Alzheimer's. He's a guy that he really wants to escape. So right away, I found myself instantly being able to recognize the character, and I found the story suspenseful and intense. And yeah, the ending was disappointing, but I think it opens up further discussion of like, well, what was going on there, and what's everyone's theory here? So I think it's captivating. But at the time it happened, I'm like, okay, did they run out of money? Like the developers just that's it. It was an odd ending, but yeah, it gets my award for best storytelling.
I think Word's going to tell us we're all wrong.
No, and this time I can't definitively say you're wrong like I could on most of the other categories.
I have a feeling
because I haven't played.
I know where you're going to go.
I haven't played that game through to completion. So I don't have too much of an opinion on it. I will say that text-heavy games, like if they're telling the story through text and breaking it up that way, it doesn't often resonate hugely with me because
reading is hard.
Well, it's video games and film to me. I'm a film sort of background guy. That's what my education is in. I'm a visual storyteller, and storytelling is 80% or more visual as well. And that's why, as good as those games might be in telling their story, they didn't nail it for me. And same with Uncharted 4. I thought the production values and the story was good there. Although I was annoyed that they brought a brother in to fit their agenda of the tone of the game they wanted to tell, even though we had a whole trilogy with not even a whimper or whisper of this brother. Things like that bugged me a bit. I thought Batman had a really cool take on Batman as well with Telltale Story, but I'm going to go actually with Inside for the best story of the year, because I think it challenges players to pay attention, to interpret things how they want to. All of the storytelling literally is visual storytelling. The world tells you everything that you need to know. They're not reliant on dialogue or anything of that kind to express what they're trying to emote through you, and et cetera, et cetera. And just with my visual storytelling background, I think Inside accomplishes everything else the games on the list do without saying a fucking word. And also leave things super open to interpret, question, come up with your own theories. It's not bow-tied at the end. And it is something that takes multiple playthroughs and reflection on to kind of piece together what you think it is, right? And so I don't know. I think for me, I'm going to give the guys that play Dead a nod for Inside again, because I think the visual storytelling surpasses anything that was written this year.
And my second choice would have been, and I'll admit that I kind of really went back and forth, would have been Unravel. And it's a similar sense for me as you with Inside, in that, there were no words spoken. The story is told through memories and making your way through these melancholy levels and everything else, and everything it tells you what it needs to tell you without saying a damn thing. Everything is visual, everything is music, everything is told in a different way. And I can see where you
Unravel was very close for me. The only reason I bumped it behind Inside was because Unravel got my feels, because I felt sad and such, and I was confused about my feelings with Inside. At least I knew what my feelings were with Unravel. But Unravel also fell back on those sort of sentimental photos outside of the game in a way. It's part of the game, but it was here's our game engine and our story we're telling throughout the levels, and then between the levels, here's these images through the scrapbook.
Yeah, going through the photo album or scrapbook.
Yeah, and the story wouldn't have worked as much if you took those out, right? And then you look at Inside, and it's just That's it. It's they're totally 100% respecting the intelligence of the player and the viewer, and good picks though all around, I think.
Yeah.
But Inside is the best.
Okay, so we'll move on, because before fists start flying or anything, if anybody feels really strongly about their opinion, we're going to move on to our next award, which is the Nolan Northy. Do you think Nolan would actually take a little bit of pride in realizing that the best performance or character award is literally named after him as the most
of course
recognizable?
I think he'd dig it.
He would totally dig it.
We should send it to him. We should let him know.
We'll definitely let him know this year, but I think next year, if we pool a little bit, we'll make a little Nolan Northy statue.
A statue?
There needs to be a physical.
I do get a kick out of the fact that the name of the award is the Nolan Northy, but our first nominee is probably his biggest competition in the business right now. Is probably Troy Baker for Batman, the Telltale series. But all further nominees: Elias Toufexis in Deus Ex: Mankind Divided, Ruffin Prentice in Watch Dogs 2, Nolan himself. Would it be weird to win an award named after yourself?
He must have bribed us.
That's pretty meta. That's pretty meta.
It'd be an honor.
In Nathan Drake in Uncharted 4, Sissy Jones as Delilah in Firewatch, and Richard Summer as Henry in Firewatch. Trevor, why don't we let you take the first go at our Nolan Northy Best Performance or Character Award.
So my pick has nothing to do with the fact he's a Montreal Canadiens fan. I follow him on the Twitter sphere.
The Twitters.
And he nothing to do with the fact he's from Montreal, big Montreal Canadiens fan. But
it's because he's got a really deep, raspy, sexy voice.
He does.
I know who you're talking about.
He's voice box gold. His voice is the opposite of mine. which is nasally and a bit whiny. His is gruff, gritty. I mean, he is Adam Jensen. Like, I thought his performance, as always, is a spot on. And I really identify with the character through him. I think he does an outstanding job with the voice work. And
this has nothing to do with the fact
Nothing.
While you're wearing a Habs hat
nothing.
that he is a Habs fan.
Nothing at all. I just love his gritty, gruff voice when he does Adam Jensen. Like, look at that. That's terrible. But
No, keep going.
That's the best I could do.
Can you please do the rest of the show in that voice?
No. Okay, I'll try.
I'm tingling a little bit right now.
The rest of this in his voice.
I feel like I'm in the room with him.
So yeah, Elias gets my vote.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I know where Rory's vote is going due to some hand gestures and dirty looks.
What was I doing? Oh, no.
So why don't you show me, or tell our viewers, the Nolan Northy. Who wins your award?
I thought there was a lot of good picks this year, and even though I haven't finished it, I was going back and listening to some of Richard Summers' stuff in Firewatch, and like he's up there. I really like what he does, and I like what Troy did with Batman as well, and Bruce. But yeah, you know what? I'm gonna give it to Nolan North this year, and it might seem like the cliched, obvious choice, but we've seen him do Drake, over the years and do it well. And I saw a nice evolution. It wasn't the exact same Drake we'd seen before. A little bit older, a little more world weary, a little worn down. And I like the range of emotions that he goes through. And I think Nolan North sort of delivered on every level that the character kind of required him to, right? And there's I think there's a lot of range in his performance in that game as well. So I got to give it to Nolan North. It might seem safe, but I just think the quality and range throughout the entire experience was the strongest.
Yeah. Well, I won't argue with that. I like to argue, but I'm not gonna argue this time. Paul.
I thought you were going somewhere with that.
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting. I want to argue with you.
Oh, you want to argue with me?
Well, it depends what you choose.
I'm pretty sure you're wrong, but regardless of what you choose.
Who's your pick, Paul?
Wait, are we, now that's Jensen still or Batman?
Trevor Houston is Adam Jensen?
I know who it is. Like, yeah, Kermit the Frog.
But that's none of my business.
I liked what Nolan North did with Drake. But I think that's a character we've seen before, and it's pretty well established. Obviously, there was a bit more range with him being a little more wizened in Uncharted 4. But I really liked the character of Henry and Richard Summers' performance of that. It conveyed a lot without saying specifically what he was feeling. So he was kind of the guy that wouldn't necessarily say what he was feeling, but you could tell what he was feeling, even if he was being the funny man or whatever. I really thought he did a pretty spectacular job with that character, and it carried the story from beginning to end with ease.
Well, that was a story where it was very dependent on whoever took on that role to fill it properly.
Totally. Like Castaway, the movie wouldn't have worked if it starred Keanu Reeves. Right? It's just like
sad Keanu and Wilson.
Maybe like there might have been a big following.
Maybe, but sometimes you need that guy, and it wouldn't have worked or been the success or the quality it was without him. And I think Summer totally fits the bill. I think it's a good choice.
Wilson, whoa.
There is no Wilson.
You know what? I think this might be the first award where we actually all split completely. No, but this is what was really hard about this category is everybody who is nominated really deserved to be nominated. I might not have said that about every category so far. But Elias Toufexis is Adam Jensen. He does that role perfectly. It's almost like, that lack of emotion in a sense that he carries through is purposeful to that character. It works really well. Richard Summer, absolutely pitch perfect again as Henry. Nolan North, like you said too, like it may be cliched in a sense, but he did a fantastic job. But I have to kind of side with you, Paul, where you said that we've seen this character so many times, and you don't want to say it's just Nolan North playing Nathan Drake again, because he did bring a bit more. But to me, it's something that I'd seen before. So, it didn't take my award. I actually went with Troy Baker for Batman, the Telltale series. Telltale games are very obviously reliant on their story and on their narrative. And I think in this day and age, with how many Batmans we've seen, it takes a good pair of balls to go out there and be willing to say, look, I'll take Batman on, you know. And you look at the guys that have been Batman or voiced Batman previously, you know, it takes something to go out there and do that character and then make that character your own and not have other people look at that performance and go, well, it's not as good as, right? You know, I mean, I always find that Will Arnett as Batman in the Lego stuff is hilarious. He embraces that role. But I mean, the neat thing about the Telltale series for Batman was more time is actually spent being Bruce Wayne than anything else. And I really think that Troy conveyed that character really, really well. And, you know, I didn't find myself thinking at any point or comparing, you know, I didn't compare him to Christian Bale or anything like that. So, yeah, I enjoyed him from the beginning to end in that one. And even though it's not one of the, I don't know, I think it's probably the unpopular choice, but I really liked him. And so he wins. You're all wrong.
Oh, all right.
I think maybe
all wrong.
I'm pretty sure in this case we're all right.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody got it wrong.
Yeah,
here.
no, I agree with you. There's so many good choices.
Well, the candidates would agree with you for sure.
Yes, yes.
All right, so we're going to wrap up today's episode with our last award, which is the Saving Grace, which is a bit of a weird name, but that's our best surprise. So, our nominees for the Saving Grace: Doom, Titanfall 2, Ratchet and Clank, Inside, The Witness, Stardew Valley, Salt and Sanctuary, Hyper Light Drifter, Enter the Gungeon, Final Fantasy 15, I Am Setsuna, Hitman, Steep, the NES Classic Announcement, and Let It Die. That's a really recent addition too, Let It Die. All right, who hasn't started first yet? Who's
Trevor.
Whose turn? Let's just go with Trevor.
Okay, I'll start. For me, best surprise. Now, for this game, I remember playing the beta, and my first thought was like, oh no, this is horrible. It's broken. EA needs to delay this game. Now, in hindsight, they still should have delayed the game because Titanfall 2 didn't sell very well, which is unfortunate because for me, it's the biggest surprise. Not so much that it is a AAA game, big budget game, but it's a big surprise because I honestly thought that when it was released, it would be horrible. It would score poorly, sell poorly, which it did, which is unfortunate. Unfortunately, because it's an excellent game. The single player was beyond, it surpassed my expectations. It was fun. The weapons felt great. The levels were amazing. It really sort of blew me away. It's worth all those 90 plus scores it got. And wins my biggest surprise of the year at Titanfall 2.
Good choice. For me, you know, I'll admit I went back and forth between about 2 or 3 different games on where I was going to go with this one. But what the thing that surprised me the most was Inside, and it shouldn't have surprised me because I love Limbo. I love Limbo, but I think what surprised me was I wasn't expecting that transition from what Limbo was to what Inside was. And Inside was just a game where I constantly kind of felt like I was behind the 8 ball because I never really knew what was going on until the end. And then when I got to the end, I was like, what the fuck? But it made me think. It made me want to play again, you know? And so few games make me want to ever boot them up a second time anymore. I don't have time. Right. So, Inside was one that just kind of caught me off guard. I knew that I would like it, but I didn't realize how much I would like it. And I think Playdead deserves so many kudos for that game.
They do.
They do.
I concur.
Why don't you tell me what you think?
Okay, lots of good stuff. Doom was a big surprise for me. I thought it looked cool, but I just wasn't expecting it to kind of like fire on all cylinders like it did and actually be as just polished as a package,
and balls to the wall.
It's rare that something that hits you as equally with like nostalgia and quality, and it kind of like just did it all, right? Kind of what we were talking about with the feels. My pick though is actually going to be The Witness. I like Braid, didn't love Braid. You know, I really appreciated Braid though, but I didn't love what it was doing, and mostly because I also couldn't figure it out when it got really late into the hard shit. It was tough. I won't hold that against it though. But The Witness, like, I saw that teaser trailer and I was like, oh, the music's kind of interesting. I really like the art style a lot. Like, it was just super colorful. And I was just like, okay, well, sometimes I like to mix up the action and such. So I picked up The Witness though, And 100 hours later, I was just like,
You put 100 hours into The Witness.
yeah, close to, a little above, little below, because I scoured that island, right? And what people don't know about that game is, there's grid puzzles, but there's environmental puzzles, and there's all kinds of mysteries and secret areas, and there's a story in there.
There's also you need to pay attention to everything, like the reflections and everything. I remember seeing a spot where you looked at one spot of land, and then when you looked at the reflection in the water on the opposite
statue
side.
It's based off our famous painting from years and years
but
ago.
that's stuff a lot of people would miss. It's at that attention
exactly
to detail.
And then once you saw that one, because that one was brought to my attention, but then I started looking around the environment for more, and one time I was in the forest and I was just like, that tree is starting to line up with this other tree, and oh my god, and it just reveals all kinds of other shit, and two things. Anyway, it was not only a surprise in how high the quality bar was set when I initially played it, but just a surprise on a meta level inside the game. It was just constantly surprises as well, of just there's this in here, and there's what's this mystery, and then there's a whole secret ending, and the simple fact that I put so much fucking time into a puzzle game, and it really made me realize that my sensibilities in what I prefer in video games has changed over the past couple of years, of what I'm looking for out of my gaming experiences as I've grown up a little bit.
So not only did the game surprise you, but it almost kind of put you in tune with other games that maybe you wouldn't have considered before.
Probably.
Yeah, that is a big surprise.
Anyway, the Witness surprised me, and it's my pick.
Good choice.
So The Witness didn't surprise me. I thought it would be awesome. Inside didn't surprise me. I thought it would be awesome. What did surprise me, and surprised me hard, was Hitman. That game had a ton of red flags before it came out. Them saying, we're going to this season thing, and it seemed like maybe this was half baked, but no, it had no business being great, but it so is. It
had no business being great.
I mean, based on what we had heard about it coming up to release, it had no business being that good, and it really is. There's so much lateral thinking involved in a really good game like that, and Hitman just nails it, and it knows it's a game too. And I think that's one of the most interesting parts of it. It gamifies things to a stupid level, and there's lots and lots of really dumb stuff you can do in there, and that just makes a game so awesome in my book.
I gotta check this one out still, because I was one of those guys that got the red flags are going up, and I loved.
Well, I was a Hitman fan when with the first game and the second game, and then you kind of saw where it went wrong a little bit. So I kind of was with you.
Yeah, I think
Red
Blood
Flags,
Money was probably my favorite.
I'm gonna stay away from.
And then
this
I
one.
liked the latest Absolution or whatever. I enjoyed it, but it took away some of the options. But then it went to episodic, and I was like, fuck, man, what are they doing here?
It just takes the ridiculousness to a ridiculous level, and it's
ridiculously
awesome.
ridiculous, but appropriately ridiculous.
That pick doesn't really surprise me. I mean, when you look at our reviewers' scores for the game, so we did a review for each episode. I mean, episode 1 an 80, episode 2 a 92, then episode 3 drops down to 63.
Bit of a misstep.
All over the map with these various episodes. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that that you did really enjoy the game as much as you did. So. Yeah.
Well, I guess that wraps up where we're at for episode 2. We've gone through 8 of our awards, but we still have a ton more.
8 more.
Well, yeah. Holy crap, math. Yeah, we have 8 more. Math. Numbers. Math. If you're a Borderlands fan, you'll get that. Okay, so when you tune in for episode 3, which is basically going to be available right now that you could just go to.
Hopefully right here.
Bubble. All right, we're going to cover 3 awards in our next episode. The Hotness, which is our sexiest digital hero. That's a hot. I'm not a digital hero.
Sean had a really crude 3D model made up of himself just so he could dominate.
And it was a little oversized, let's be honest. I mean,
they did make your head a little bit big.
I got a little bold. The Olympian, best sports or racing. I'm losing all concentration here. And the Quest to Best, which is our best RPG award. So tune in for episode 3, and we'll tackle those 3 awards. We're out.
Peace out.
Peace out.